concern there, first of all, about the Palestinian deaths that accompanied that rescue mission for those Israeli hostages. Josep Borrell calls it another massacre of civilians. Do you agree?
Of course, I don't agree. Civilians who are killed are always a tragedy. And yet, one needs to, of course, put everything into context. There are hundreds of Israeli civilians who are held hostage illegally. The world seems to have forgotten, especially Josep Borrell has seemed forgotten about these illegally held and abducted civilians. We've tried endless times to have the Hamas in a deal free those hostages. They haven't even allowed international aid or medicine to reach them or anybody to see them, as is the case in many other places in the world where abducted civilians are being taken hostage. And Josep Borrell is blaming Israel for doing everything that it can in order to let its own civilians out because the Hamas had said no again and again to Israel's agreement to do everything and to agree to everything that it wishes for in terms of releasing its hostages. It's just unbelievable why the world maintains this upside down statement, especially made by Josep Borrell. It's very, very disturbing. And all I can ask him in return or in response is if it was your daughter, your sister, or your wife held hostage by Hamas operatives. By the way, they were held in private homes in densely populated areas within the Gaza Strip. Why is that? Is the world blind to the manipulative nature of Hamas doing that, especially so that civilian Palestinians will be hurt? This is unbelievably manipulative and tragic.
And yet we're in the same position again, aren't we, where Israel says that this has been a precise mission, and yet all these civilians dead. I wonder, is there any number of civilians which is too much in collateral damage
So
for any of these missions?
first of all, we always rely on the numbers given by Hamas and its own organisms or mechanisms, and their numbers have indeed been proven to be lies. Now, there were civilian deaths,
Okay.
but let's just examine for a second who are those civilians who are holding for money, and this has been said by Hamas, not by Israel.
Yes,
They
although
have
we
been
don't know
made to
necessarily we don't
hold.
necessarily know who all the civilians are who have died in this.
No,
But
we
I
don't.
take
We
your point.
don't yet.
Time
At
is
the
against us.
moment,
So I just want to ask you about another point, if that's
one
okay.
more sentence with your permission. One more sentence. The IDF has now given the names, the precise names and identities of all those who have been said to be civilian, not in this particular operation, but in the last one. Again, we were accused of killing civilians. These were Hamas operative terrorists, and their names were given one by the IDF. So,
What of the position of Benny Gantz? He did have this deadline which expired yesterday. Was
absolutely.
he
Yes.
right to threaten that? And what do you think he should do now?
I think that the position held by Benny Gantz, former Minister of Defense and member of the cabinet, is to have an impact on decision making, amongst other things, on the possibility of returning our hostages, which is a key issue for Israelis. It's a key issue in the unwritten constitution between our people and the government. And as long as he feels, together with Gadi Eisenkot, that he has impact upon this issue, he will remain, obviously, following the operation that had succeeded last night. Thank God that he postponed the statement, and it seems that he had impact upon returning
Yes.
some of the hostages. As long as there is that, he will remain. As long as the Israeli national interest is no longer within his hands, there's nothing that he can do within that cabinet.